What a great opportunity to address those who are listening in today. This is a special time in the United States of America, and very, very unique to this nation is the celebration and honor of leaders in roles of authority, particularly at this time in the early weeks of May, the beginning of May and into the 15th of May. Correctional leaders are being honored, as well as law enforcement officers across the nation. Uh, those who have given their life in the line of duty down through the years, and those who have particularly died in the last year, 2011, as they've served in our prisons and as they've served across the United States of America in our 50 states. And so this coming day, we are looking forward to hosting the first time ever Code 3 Ministries in Washington, D.C., when they will be bringing the opportunity of sharing God's great purpose for law enforcement and peacekeepers in the city of Washington, D.C. We're expecting anywhere from 30,000 to 45,000 police leaders in the nation's capital from May 12th through the 15th. But even before that, there will be a celebration and honor services and memorial services in cities and states wherein men and women are remembered for their courage and for the loss of families as they've laid down their lives in keeping the peace in this nation. Beginning in Genesis chapter 9, God clearly set forth human government. After the flood of Noah, God established government and gave man not only the right, but the responsibility to protect life. That the first role of human government is to protect life. And in the United States today, there are more than 900,000 peacekeepers, just in uniform sworn officers, men and women, who are ready to lay down their lives. As a matter of fact, over the last 10 years, it's a fact that more than every 53 hours, a peace officer lays down his or her life in the line of duty. There's more than 19,600 names engraved on the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. Can you imagine 19,600 names who died in the line of duty as peacekeepers, corrections officers, federal officers, police officers across the United States? Again, they serve in a God-ordained position. God's people have been mandated to pray for those in authority. God's people around the world have been counseled by the Holy Scriptures to honor legitimate authority. And I'm glad to say today, to you that are tuning in, that even in our courtrooms in the United States, I don't know how long it's going to be, but I thank God that the Bible, the Holy Scriptures, are still right there at the judge's bench, a symbol of the highest truth, the highest measure of truth and honesty, the Word of God, the Holy Scriptures. And so today I want to just thank you, particularly men and women who are willing to give your life as a shield for keeping and preserving and honoring life in this country and around the world. Just a few minutes ago, I got off the phone with a very special man of God who happens to be a member of the United States Secret Service. As a matter of fact, he is a member of the President's detail. He just returned from Colombia, South America, and he told me on the phone how much God has been just working in his life and in the life of agents, and how this has been a 2-week period of revival, a period of prayer, a period of soul searching, a time to just weigh their own role before God. I was encouraged to hear a Secret Service agent talking about the prayer meetings they have with their wives and their children in a Virginia home. It's great to know that we have men and women in leadership that are still desperate for God. Many years ago here in the state of Pennsylvania, I hosted a prayer breakfast, or at least welcomed the speaker for the governor's prayer breakfast in Pennsylvania. The speaker was Dr. Ron Powell, and he spoke very forcibly about speaking truth to power. And I've repeated this before, but I want to read it to you again. For Dr. Powell, the Commissioner of Prisons in New Hampshire, began his message as he spoke to corrections and police leaders across the state of Pennsylvania with these words, Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 23 and 24. O Lord, I know that the way of man is not in himself. It is not in man who can only walk to direct his own steps. O Lord, correct me, reprove me, but do it with judgment and mercy, not with your anger, lest you bring me to nothing. Jeremiah said, God, I need your wisdom. I can't lead without you. One of the most favorite passages in my life comes from the prophet Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter and the 1st verse, where we find the prophet on the walls of Jerusalem, and he's crying out to God over a land of violence, a land of injustice, a land that's on the verge of collapse. And he says, Lord, I'm looking to you. I'm watching for your counsel, for your reproofs. And Lord, I'm not going to speak until you have counseled me. You know, it's my prayer in the Oval Office of our White House. It's my prayer in the United States Supreme Court. It's my prayer for the United States Congress. And it's my prayer for every police department across America, for prison wardens and corrections officers, that they would be men and women who truly get on their faces before God and seek God for the wisdom of administrating their offices in government that are sworn and established by God to keep the peace and to protect human life. Today in America, our jails are full of mommies and daddies. Today our jails reflect the crisis of our homes. Today our front pages are covered with violence and murder. And today, as we enter into the month of May and the summer of 2012, it's my prayer from County Corrections Gospel Mission, on behalf of Christian police around the world, on behalf of Point Man Leadership Institute, on behalf of many who are in uniform today, I ask you to prayerfully consider bowing your heart before God today and asking Him for the help and wisdom to lead. You know, Daniel, the great man of God, who served in the court of King Nebuchadnezzar of the city and the nation of Babylon. This man saw a king that was desperate for answers. This man, Daniel, had a king who sought for someone who could interpret the times to him. And Daniel said, God, I seek your face. Reveal to me your will and your purpose. And Daniel interceded for King Nebuchadnezzar. And God blessed Daniel with insight and wisdom for the day in which he lived in Babylon. Today we need intercessors. Perhaps you're there today as a pastor. You run a church. You have a pulpit. You have an altar in your church. Call your people to prayer. Call your people to soberness for America. As we approach election 2012 in November, this is an opportunity to be a desperate people before God. I'm not speaking to political party. I'm not speaking to denomination. Today, my heart just cries in the context of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial. It cries in the context of the Corrections Week here in America. It cries on behalf of more than 2.5 million prisoners. It cries on behalf of more than 900,000 police officers. It asks you today to obey the mandate that God has given to us as leaders, to depend upon Him, and as spiritual leaders to cry out to Him for the peace of this nation. As we enter this week, as we enter this month, my prayer here at County Corrections is that God will turn our hearts to prayer. Thank you for your support, for all you do. I thank you again. Jack Krantz.